I have started to soften up quite a bit when it comes to jazz, but here is the short answer to why I hated jazz. It was because it was expected and almost demanded of me that I should move on from liking rock and pop music. Jazz was the next level, the ultimate level, and I should like it and I should play jazz. And I'm not very good at accepting things that are forced upon me, so I just ended up hating it. Not liking or even hating a music genre isn't really that problematic on its own, but in this video I'll explore some things that can be a bit troublesome when it comes to taste in music. And jazz is sort of in the center of that for me. When I started to enjoy music and eventually started to play guitar, jazz wasn't part of the music that I was exposed to. It was all about rock, hard rock, and pop music for me, so naturally my musical journey didn't start with jazz. After high school, I started this 1-year program we have in Norway where you can basically study different interests and hobbies for a full year before you start college. No matter what you are interested in, you can probably find a school that offers a program for that interest. Knitting, sure. Parachuting, yeah. And of course, for me, it was all about guitar and music. So I enrolled in a 1-year program with rock. Yeah. And it was very much like the School of Rock movie in some ways. We were a bit older, of course. It was a great year and also my first encounter with jazz. I had heard jazz, of course, but meeting people playing and talking about jazz was new. And this was also my first meeting with people who did this.
Oh, so you still play rock, do you? Oh, because I have leveled up and now I only play chords with numbers in them. You probably haven't even heard of it. It's called jazz.
And far from every jazz student did this, but there were a few. I didn't bother at all at this point. It was first when I started college and I studied to become a music teacher, it started to annoy me. Because then the genre hierarchy was more systematic, sort of, and you could see it more with the teachers as well. One thing was that pop and rock was sort of looked down upon. I didn't care too much about that still, but it was more that popular music wasn't really integrated into the learning of music. Whether it was theory, composing, or instrument lessons, in my case, guitar lessons that I got at college. I understand, of course, that jazz is more connected to music theory in many ways than AC/DC or Slayer. And if you're going to become a music teacher, as I was doing back then, it's difficult to avoid jazz altogether because you're learning a lot of theory. But I really wish that it was more open for other genres as well when it comes to learning music. And for example, I remember getting guitar lessons there. And it was sort of just expected that we learned jazz standards. And at first I tried to accept that, but I figured out very early that it didn't inspire me at all. And I remember telling that to my guitar teacher, and then he said, okay, let's do jazz blues then, or maybe even just blues. And I know it's almost impossible to remove the blues entirely from how we approach the guitar today, but I really wasn't interested in that either. On the side of college, I played in rock bands, some loud with very few chords, but some with pretty advanced riffs and songwriting. I also played in other bands where I spent hours upon hours writing small guitar parts that needed to be just right for the song. And to me, that was guitar playing, not playing Spain by Chick Corea, which I tried and it was horrible, yeah. And this is something that I've been thinking about for many years. Would it be possible to approach playing the guitar and learning music almost in a vacuum without the influence of jazz or blues? It's not like I don't appreciate everything jazz and blues did for music and guitar, but I definitely prefer the indirect influence better than the pure teachings of jazz, if you understand what I mean. And to answer if it's even possible to learn guitar in a vacuum, I would say that it's probably very difficult, but I still like the thought of it. And I definitely think it's possible to get guitar lessons that aren't directly jazz and or blues lessons. I also think it's possible to learn music and music theory without jazz or classic music or blues being involved. And that actually happened for me at college. Eventually, I got to choose a new guitar teacher outside of college, and I don't remember any jazz scales being played there at all. And it was actually in those lessons I learned how to play the lap steel, a musical skill that I have gotten much more in return from than the 3 weeks I spent trying to learn a stupid jazz solo. There's probably a whole lot of jazz and blues in my approach to lap steel as well, and that is absolutely fine. And the same goes for my guitar playing. I do sometimes wish that I could remove some of the most basic blues licks from my muscle memory. But I do also appreciate how important it has been for the development of guitar playing. I also appreciate that it forces me to think more outside the box when I try to come up with something on the guitar. So when it comes to jazz now, I don't play it because I can't. Yeah, it's too difficult for me, but I do enjoy listening to it. I actually enjoy it a lot. So I'm quite stubborn. So when no one is forcing me to consume it, I slowly start to see how great it can be. And I just really like the vibe and the mood in jazz, especially on older recordings. It takes me back to a time that I didn't even exist in myself, and I really love that. So please let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. And thank you for watching this long talk. Yeah, goodbye.